Okay, welcome to the second episode of Story Structure Breakdown, where we're studying the movie adaptation of the novel 1984. Now, if you missed the first episode, just click the link in the description box below and start watching there. Now, in the last episode, we talked about elements of story structure, such as plot questions and conflict, two literary devices of which this movie adaptation of the novel seems to be completely devoid. But we're going to use that to our advantage because we're going to try to make this segment of the movie more interesting by adding our own plot questions. Then we'll compare the plot questions we've added with the ones actually written into the plot of the movie. We also talked about the idea of starting in medias res, or in the middle of things. In the last episode, I used the example of starting a story with a character hanging for his life at the end of a tree branch while he was being stalked by a jaguar. The benefit of starting in medias res is that there are any number of plot questions to inspire the reader to keep reading. What is someone in a suit doing in the jungle? Why is he being stalked by a jaguar, and how will he get out of the situation? The amount of conflict portrayed in these plot questions immediately immerses the reader in the story you're telling. By contrast, the short segment of the movie you'll see today seems like it has all the time in the world. Quite frankly, a trip to the grocery store would be more dramatic. But again, we're going to make some changes to provide a better example of using plot questions, and hopefully you'll learn a lot. So this section of the story starts with the character writing in a diary, which is not a very dramatic thing to do until you understand the context of the story. Remember, the reader will know nothing until you tell them.
April 18th, 1984. Nobody keeps a diary today, because to do so would be punishable by death.
He tells us that it's punishable by death. Well, so what? This is the perfect example of the old adage, show, don't tell. It would be far more compelling if he had just come from a mass execution of some people who had been caught with diaries, rather than just telling us it's punishable by death. By restructuring the story this way, the act of writing in the diary has much more dramatic weight and the reader is more interested. But this doesn't happen, and the story is almost too boring to follow. But just wait, we're going to make it more interesting in a moment.
I don't care anymore. I found this old book by chance. And I'm going to set down what I dare not say aloud to anyone. I've seen that girl again. I'm sure she was following me.
Now he mentions the girl he saw in the last section when I told you sexual tension can be great to use as a plot question. However, there just isn't enough drama to make it interesting. Here he's implying that she might suspect him of criminal activity, but we don't know enough about the nature of this crime before this scene to make it dramatically compelling. In actuality, the girl loves him. But again, we've not been given enough of a context to make this a powerful plot question either. If we knew beforehand that love is a crime in this society, and that he had just seen the execution of a pair of lovers for committing the crime, it would be more dramatic and the reader would be more interested.
Perhaps they suspect me already.
We interrupt this program for an important bulletin. The saboteurs Lewis and Siegel were caught a few minutes ago in the neighborhood of Victory Square and have already confessed their guilt. As he was arrested, Lewis was heard to shout in a loud voice, "Long live Big Brother!"
Now, there are a number of types of conflict in fiction. There's man versus man, man versus himself, man versus nature, man versus society. The primary conflict in 1984 is man versus society, and Big Brother is the face of this conflict. Big Brother is oppressive and threatening, but because we don't know this before the character is committing these various crimes, the plot questions are boring. But you can easily solve this problem by restructuring the story and having the character coming home from watching an execution of people, as we've mentioned before, who have committed the same crimes as we're about to see the character is guilty of himself. Again, this adds dramatic power to these plot questions. Perhaps we even see a group of police somewhere searching for the character because they suspect he's guilty of these crimes. Now this increases the suspense because we wonder if the character will be caught or escape. It also increases the urgency of the drama, which is something the movie is completely lacking. So you're starting to see how by simply restructuring your story you can increase the drama and conflict and keep the reader reading. Would this help you in something you're currently working on? What changes would you make and what effect would it have? Let us know in the discussion box below.
Up with your hands! You're a traitor. You're a thought criminal. You're a Eurasian spy. I'll shoot you. I'll vaporize you. I'll send you to the uranium mine.
So now we see that the society is so oppressive that even its children act as agents of the state to turn criminals in. In this current version of the story, this is a big yawn because it comes too late. Remember the man hanging from the tree limb with the jaguar stalking him? How interesting would it be if we found out 10 minutes after the fact that a jaguar had been stalking him? Not quite as interesting. Again, by simply rearranging some things, you can turn a bad story into a good story. And this gets into the topic of rewriting, which I'll talk about at the end.
6040. Outer party members will always wear identification badges when going in public places. And Smith, don't forget again.
All right, I'm ready.
He seeks sanctuary.
Okay, what I just did there is to add a plot question. Now, why is it a plot question? Because it's completely out of line with the story, and we wonder what its purpose is. It's a mystery, and we're intrigued because it was just a hint of a mystery, and we want to know more. But that's all the author will reveal at this point in time, and we return to the main storyline.
Not here. Over there. Didn't you recognize them?
No,
Jones and Rutherford.
I thought they'd been liquidated.
They ought to have been. The traitors.
I remember their trial. They confessed to being in Eurasia during Hate Week last year, didn't they?
That's right. The war went badly for a few months afterwards. They were able to disclose a lot of secret information.
What are they doing at Liberty?
VB granted them a pardon. Do you remember? He freed 25 prisoners in honor of the Mediterranean victory. Only BB could make a gesture like that.
I imagine they've spent some time at the Ministry of Love.
Oh, yes. That's why they're here. They're cured. Better not show so much interest.
2 gins.
Oh. Thanks. Maybe we shouldn't have stopped here. I get pretty uneasy when I'm near people who aren't healthy, if you know what I mean. Oh, well. Long live BB.
Long live VB.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about pacing, or how fast the plot moves along. This can be measured by how engaged your reader is and how quickly he turns the pages. I remember when I read The Da Vinci Code or 100 Years of Solitude, I was absolutely riveted and couldn't put the books down. This is because the plot questions were dramatically powerful and they kept coming, one after the other. In this instance, we see another plot question with the girl from before casually sauntering into the bar. However, it doesn't carry any dramatic weight because we don't know how important it is to the plot. We could care less. Besides being undramatic, it's untimely. We saw her before. Who cares? A number of minutes or pages pass by and we see her again. So what? Now, imagine if the story started out portraying the mass execution of a group of lovers, and then we had seen these two lovers embrace quickly, only to depart and slip off into the shadows. Then, perhaps, we had seen some cops trying to find these two lovers, and they're on their way to the same bar. Now, when the girl walks in, it becomes much more dramatic, because the reader wonders if the cops will see them together. The drama of the situation is increased, the pace of the plot is increased, and the reader keeps turning the pages, which is exactly what you want.
Once a traitor, always a traitor.
Okay, that's enough for this episode. Hopefully you're beginning to understand how structure can be manipulated to improve the story. Now, over the next few episodes, I'll be adding plot questions of my own to better illustrate this. Now, if you're new to writing, you may be worried that this is a lot of stuff to be aware of as you're writing. You're right, it is. But don't worry, you don't have to be aware of it all at the same time. This is where rewriting comes in. Now, in the first draft, you might just get some general ideas down on paper. In the second draft, you might add some details on the setting or the character development, and you'll start getting a better idea of what this story is about. Somewhere along the line, it might be the 5th, the 6th, the 17th draft. No matter how many drafts you need, take your time. But along the line, you'll realize that the story could be more interesting. There are a lot of ways to do this, but restructuring your story is one of the best. Just imagine if you told the punchline of a joke before the setup. It'd be the worst joke in the world, but by making some simple changes, it might become the best joke in the world, and we'll be seeing how to do this and many other things in the following episodes. Now, I want to make sure that these videos are beneficial to you, so if you're confused about anything or have any questions, please tell me in the discussion box. And if you have any insight into someone else's questions, feel free to join the conversation. Tell us what you're thinking. And why don't you subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when I post the next episode. And while you're doing that, why don't you head on over to enoveladvisor.com. It's your first step to writing a novel and the last word on marketing it. You'll find the link in the description box. And at that website, you'll find lots of great resources on writing, publishing, and marketing your novel as well. So until next time, this is Jim.
Visit enoveladvisor.com to publish your own novel. You really can't go wrong. Learn to write a novel and market it. You will find out how easy it is. Turn your dream of writing into reality. eNovel Advisor has everything you need.